So Josh, I met Josh. My introduction to Josh was in a bookstore on Pender and, what was that bookstore called?
Ooh, McLeod's Books.
McLeod's Books, obviously.
So good.
I bought 2 books there after our podcast. So we had a podcast, we had a space got double booked or something. We went and then there was a bookstore right next because Josh thinks on his feet and he's like, obviously I'm not gonna cancel this bookstore even though I have literally nowhere to go. Walks across the street. Did you know the manager of that bookstore?
No, dude, I had no idea. I didn't even talk to the manager. I talked to some other guy and like my friend Tashar who helps me with filming and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's go in the bookstore, let's figure it out. And he's like, man, let's do a car style. He was like, so I'll sit in the back and you guys can sit in the front. And I was like, no, that'll take too long. Fuck it, let's go to the bookstore. And I went in and just I was like walking with all the camera gear and stuff. And I went up to the guy. The manager's like yelling behind this massive pile of books. So to paint a picture, there's like it's just messy. It's like there's books everywhere. The desk is literally like covered by another like 2 feet of books. And there's a manager yelling on the phone and he's just yelling at someone. And there's like, it smells delicious. Like it smells like old paper.
Old textbooks and like, that old Harvard University.
Yeah, and I just went in there and I went and used like a selling line and like I just asked him like a no question, which is people prefer to say no rather than yes.
Because you feel like you're in control.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, Chris Voss, it's good stuff.
Okay.
And I went up to this guy and I was like, hey man, so we like double booked, we got this podcast. He's like, do you want to do a photo shoot? And I was like, no, we're gonna do a podcast. Like, would it be completely ridiculous for us to record in the back here?
Would it be completely ridiculous? No.
And he's like, no,
it wouldn't be completely ridiculous.
Exactly. And then he's like, I'll ask the manager. And the manager's like, I don't have time for this right now. And just like waves us away. And so the young kid's like, sweet, let's do it.
I went through, left, and then we came back. I bought another book. 2 books I bought a book on philosophy and I bought a book on the girls of Pulp Fiction.
Oh shit.
Neither of which I've opened yet, but those are both.
At least you got them.
Yeah, I got them. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get to them, I swear. Yes, we pop in there, and you know, at the end of the day, that was actually really, books are great sound insulation. So we're in a studio space right now. It's reverby as fuck. That's why we're on lab mics. I was like, we don't have the sound insulation in here yet. So that was like perfect. And then the only deter of that, so that was the introduction to Josh. The only deter of that, we had an amazing podcast, but halfway through this podcast there's this guy that just comes up and it's just like, oh no, like I'm really interested in browsing right where you guys are at. Like we're in this secluded corner and he like reaches over us trying to like find astronomy books, and I'm just like, holy shit, man. But I'm like keeping a smile on my face like, hey man, yeah, do you? And we're like, should we stop? But he just is like, we're like, oh, he'll take a second because he's looking for one book.
Man, yeah.
He's browsing. Literally browsing.
And when you were like, should we leave this in? I was like, yeah, leave it in, it'll be fine. And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, definitely got to cut this.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But then you didn't notice, but like you were on a roll like 15, 20 minutes later and you were like deep in it and this guy just like pops his head around again and it's the same dude and he's like leaning over the top of you and I'm just looking at this guy like, what the fuck? And I was like trying not to get you off track and this guy's like peeping you like over your head and he's like pulling books out.
Yeah, no, so that was a total mess. Go check that podcast out. We'll link it in the show notes for sure. That was a good one. We'll have Kevin Wong on that podcast later, who's the founder of and CEO of Self-Hired. Shout out to Kev. We've been trying to get him for a bit. Anyways, and so that was the introduction to Josh. And that podcast is pretty cool because there's like, dude, Ben Greenfield was on it. If you don't know who Ben Greenfield is, we'll link that podcast as well. And Elliot Hulse. Like, dude, what the hell?
That moment,
what
dude.
the hell?
Unreal.
So as a salesman, and we'll get into that too. As a salesman, how the hell did you get Elliot Hulse on your podcast?
Video invites just increased my acceptance rate by like 50-60%. So I would literally just like film a video. So that my favorite one I did recently, I went bungee jumping.
Yeah.
And in Whistler.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's so good. And I was like, g'day mate, like thanks for taking the time to watch this quick little video. This is an invitation for you to come on to the Live More, Regret Less podcast. And then I fucking jump off the bungee and then it cuts to like a personalized intro. And then just like grab attention and then you know, sold them on it and had something that was enticing and valuable for them and thank them and then reel them in. It was really good.
Oh fuck, I'm gonna steal that.
It's good.
future podcast guest, this is how I'm going to pitch you. Very good. Wow, I've just been texting people like a buffoon.
Yeah, but it works, right? And like I find the DMs work better than
DMs work great.
Better than emails.
Well, better than emails, 100%.
Like you send an email and then you get a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, could you get back to us? Like, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, fuck you. And then just go talk to them directly and it works.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes we even get ones where like, I'll DM them and be, oh, cool, super busy. This will slip. Shoot me an email. Cool, I'll shoot you an email. I shoot them an email and then I get their assistant. And I have to go to their assistant for like 3 months and then I get to them. Yeah. And then I'll set up a video conference with them to be like, just feel each other out. Like, do I want to come on? And then if that's a green light from there, then they're good. We'll come on the podcast.
See, when you address them directly, even if it gets to the assistant, the assistant's going to show it to them.
Yeah.
So it cuts past the gatekeeper. So Colleen saw it, Elliot Hulse's wife, and then she showed it to Elliot because I'd addressed it to him directly. She replied straight away and she's like, yeah, I'll show it to Elliot. I'll let you know what happens. And it really, it was in that moment where I realized that it actually, direct invitation works a lot better.
Okay, so what did you say though? Like, how did you pitch him?
I was just like, man, like, you'd made such a massive impact on my life. I've got this podcast that's aimed at young guys, blah, blah, blah. And then I just said, they're like, it's aimed at, male millennials between like 22 to 28, 30 who are looking for a roadmap to their goals and the tools to get them there. Yeah. It's like, you have a message that these guys are dying to hear.
Fuck yeah.
And it's just like, want to amplify that message.
Super sick. So that definitely like speaks to who you are as a whole. So as you sit in front of me today, I'm over here lounging in my self-hired gear. You're over here in a freaking suit looking dapper as hell.
Thanks, babe.
So you're at a point now where you're just killing it over in Canada. You're originally from Australia. You're this like, I don't want to put you as like in the self-help role, but like you're just in a mentor, but also a mentee role. You're in a leadership role. You do different men's groups, your sales tactics and psychology tactics, and you're just like a knowledge fiend. So how did this all come to being to where you are right now? Like paint the picture for me, because I don't even still know, and I've hung out with you multiple times, bro. Like, what's the story here? What's the backstory here?
I think, so I was traveling through the US before I came to Canada.
Oh, sure.
And with a friend of mine, I'm pretty much like straight edge, like barely do drugs or drink and like at all. Yeah. Just love that life. And then I was traveling with a friend of mine, Talon, who was in a pretty solid band back in Australia, and he's like, sex, drugs, rock and roll, baby. And I was like, all right, fuck it, we're doing America. And then
okay, how old are you? Wait, hold on, how old are you?
I was 24.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And totally not really my scene, but I had fun anyway. And then I was like, well, that was hectic. And then my brother was dog sledding in Canmore, so I jumped over there and did that for a little bit. And I was like, dude, this sucks. You get paid like $12.50 for minimum wage. Yeah. Looked for a sales job and then boom, just like hit it on the commission. But that's like the tangibles,
Right.
And I think like it really, for that, men's health and that sort of stuff, that started from when I was like younger and my dad left at 11. And it was just like, I went from having this like pristine, beautiful childhood where I was like traveling up the west coast of Australia. I was living in the southwest, like, Mum was a relief teacher, so we would like stay in a place for like 6 months, live with like the locals and like have adventures and stuff. And then this like utopian, super fun childhood just like
utopian
exploded.
Wow, that's a big word.
And it was like sad times for the boys.
Sad times for the boys. What did your dad do originally? For work?
Like for work?
Yeah.
Or like for breaking up with my mum. It's like he cheated on my mum.
Fair. Okay, so that one's out of the picture. So what did he do for work?
He was a heavy diesel mechanic.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's more of like a poet. He writes poetry, writes stories. Yeah.
Heavy diesel mechanic and a poet.
Yeah, he's a bushman. Like he's a classic fisherman, old school bushman, Australian.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Long hair.
That shit. No, yeah, he used to have long hair, but now he's gone bald. I'm freaking out. I'm like, shit.
Oh shit. Dude, once it starts going, just shave it, bro.
Oh,
that's what I was thinking about.
I know this guy that's like, he's got long hair and then he's like balding at the front, but he's trying to save it, It just doesn't look good.
People say that.
Get it.
People say that. I don't know how. Like either get surgery or get that thing or get some Rogaine. I don't know how you're supposed to go about it. I'm just trying to think about these things. Just like honestly, I might have 8 more years and that's it for me. I'm just gonna see
Is your dad bald as hell?
No, dad's good. Everyone's good. We always just got this big widow's peak ever since forever. I got a big ass forehead. I hate it.
Solid.
Super big. So I can make all
That's knowledge right there. But
I can make all types of facial expressions, but with my forehead, though, you know what I'm saying? Like, my eyebrows are very powerful. Yeah, that's how I woo women, for sure. Anyways.
he's like...
Anyway, so, yeah, so that's super dope just on making the jump over. But you said you made the jump over at 24. You had this utopian childhood. Like, you're this, like, what's that beer, The Most Interesting Man in the World? Who's that guy? You're like one of those characters. Like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, I know he's cool and shit, but like, who is that guy? You know what I'm saying? like, who is that guy? What does he do? How does he know this? And he just drops gems left, right, and center, and it just goes about his day. You know, you're one of those like illustrious folks. You know,
I'll be that guy.
You know, no one can like really like, where the fuck? I don't know. You know, I don't know. Like, you're one of those guys that would just make plans to move and then move from the spot that he just moved to the next day. You know, type of guy.
That's pretty much what just happened. I was like, I'm moving.
Anyways, but there's a huge gap in there. So you had this great childhood with your dad. I'm assuming that you had a good relationship before that, and then things changed. How did that morph you into what you are today?
I think like I was so, man, that hurt. That hurts so bad, you know, as a kid. And I think like I just was always looking, you know, I was always searching. And I think like as a kid, I got these opportunities to like go and explore and be really independent and things like that. So, you know, I was running through the bush, and like my brother and I, we had like this amazing relationship when we were younger, and then after that happened, we just like clashed, you know, like nasty. And
a younger brother, older brother?
Younger, year and a half younger. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I'm like blonde hair, like light blue eyes. He's like dark hair, like dark eyes, tattoos all over him, like punk rock. Skater kid. Yeah. So yeah, I think I was just always like searching, seeking, you know, trying to figure it out. And that's like literally Elliot Hulse was the catalyst, you know?
Really?
And he's just like, breathe into your balls. And I'm like 14, and I was like, it's just like, breathe deep in your balls. And, like,
yes.
And trying to feel that. You know what it is?
Yes,
like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm like, and so I started off down that path, and I like happened to look at his book list one time, and I was like, oh, what's this, like The Way of the Superior Man? I was like, who the fuck's David Dale?
The Way
like,
of the Superior Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you read that book? Man.
Just Cole's notes. I went. I saw a YouTube recap. That's all I saw. I'm not gonna claim to have read it.
I've read that book more than anything else. Gifted it more than any book.
Yeah.
Like hands down. Just I was reading that, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, makes so much sense. Like, women don't think the same as men. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, that's why it didn't work for so long. And you're just like, shit. And like really learning about your mission and your purpose and this sort of thing. And I really just started to dive down that, because I felt there was just an empty void, which I feel like a lot of young men have, you know, like we live in this like really fatherless generation. And like most of us from like the divorce rate is at like 62% or something. Yeah. So the majority don't have like parents that are together, you know? And so most fathers are absent, or they've disappeared, and I was just looking for someone to tell me how the fuck to do it. You know, I was just really trying to figure it out. And Elliot mentioned like men's groups and initiation, and started to look into that a lot. And then that was really the turning point for me, was when I went and, you know, started to seek that out, and really started to realize like, wow, I need to learn how to be a man. You know, like I'm a boy, and I don't want to be like, you know, so many guys running around at 40 where they're just boys living in men's bodies.
Totally.
And I just became laser focused on it and obsessed, and then I really like, it just became a different person, you know?
It's really hard. It's really hard when you don't like I'm a bastard child. Like, my parents weren't married. they had violent breakups and stuff like that. It was not a good situation. My father was like gone or in jail for a ton of, like, great guy, don't get me wrong, but didn't work out for various reasons. Heart of gold, regardless of all that. But even when you don't have that, it's like you look at the world and you're like, holy fuck, what is right and what is wrong? Like, I don't know how to digest. I can't contrast anything. Like, you can't even see things straight. You're like, you have nothing to compare situations or people or personalities against. You're like, okay, I have no point of reference. You're like, where the fuck do I go from here? So like, just like trying to fucking tread your way through that. And that can go one of two ways. You can either go way up from that or way down from that. You know, like, you can either look at like yourself and look at it as an opportunity, be like, okay, I'm now missing this in my life. How the fuck am I gonna find it? Or it can be like, okay, no, I'm just lost. I'm just gonna go be lost, you know? So I mean, still even to this day, you know, I second guess myself all the time where I'm like, is this right? Like finding truth, finding value, finding morals, you know, like having I want to always have like a lucid and a malleable personality type, and I want to be not someone who's, you know, stagnant and very in a monolithic thought. I want to be very fluid. But with that, it's like, well, yeah, you need to have your core values. But if you grow up, you know, without parents or without a parent, you know, your core values are not core. You know, you're not attached to those. Those haven't been ingrained in you like they've been ingrained in other people through parenthood. So you're constantly looking for that. You're like, how the fuck is this right? Is this wrong? And you can't, if you're an open-minded person, you can always justify every situation. I was like, oh, am I playing tricks on myself? I don't know, because again, I have no fucking reference point, you know what I mean? It's hard.
What was there a turning point for you that, you know, stopped you from going down the wrong path, or was there a particular person that stopped you from going down the wrong path?
I'm still looking for male role models to this day. I don't even know. I mean, it's hard. I mean, sports one thing for sure. But you know what? It's like.
Do you think because it helped you stay focused on a particular objective or goal or something, and you didn't get distracted by drugs and, you know, fuck around and that sort of stuff?
Dude, it consumes energy. It just consumes energy. If I do something, I'm super into it. I'm going 150 miles an hour, and I don't want to do anything else. And so if you just get consumed by something that physically drains you, you don't have the time or the energy to do anything else. And that's very powerful. But like, you know what? That's still, so that can keep you away from bad stuff, but that still doesn't give you that grounding or that rooting. And like, sport teaches you a lot, don't get me wrong, but still in that role model, that mentor-mentee relationship, that father-son relationship, or whatever that is, or even like older brother, younger brother relationship, so powerful, right? You're still missing that. It still doesn't exist. And so everything's at a disconnect. Like everything is at a disconnect, and it's hard to put the pieces together. That's why, like, recently, fuck man, that's why I listen to Joe Rogan. That's why I listen to Aubrey Marcus at the Onan Academy down in Austin, Texas. Like, guys like that are just like, oh shit, they seem like they've gone through the trials and the tribulations and have come out of it alive. So just finding those people that have those morals that can guide you. And I haven't been, I don't know, maybe you have, but I haven't been able to, because I've always been younger than my peer group for the most part. I've never been able to find that direct brotherhood or that direct, one-to-one relationship with someone here, and I'm always looking up, right? Versus like, you know, maybe a thing like a men's group could do wonders in those situations, right? I've always felt like there's a barrier to entry. I don't know. I guess there's not. But there is, but there's not. But there is.
The barrier's in your mind,
but
man. You got to get out there.
It's like dating.
Exactly.
It's exactly like dating. So
it's like looking at the 10 and you're like, whoa, fuck. And then you go talk to the 10 and you're like, oh shit, she's a human being. Like, fuck.
She's a human being.
Surprise.
She's a human being with a body. Okay. Cool. So you found Elliot, and then what happens after that? So you find Elliot, and then you still, like, finding one person doesn't just do it for you. In my mind.
No, fuck that.
You know what I mean? So like, there had to be some coming of age, there had to be some metamorphosis there. Like, what happened from then till now?
So I got really, like, I was, you know, pretty shit at school.
It's all good,
and like, you know, I was like, fuck, if I don't go to uni, like, my life is over, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to, like, what you said. I think the key word that I picked up, what you were saying, was grounded. You know, it's such a powerful thing to feel grounded in your body and then move from that place. But so I ended up, so there was this cray fishing or cray diving that was in Queensland, which is crayfish, sort of like a lobster without claws. Yeah. And and then, so these guys used to, like, from our hometown, the guy that runs the companies in, like, the other side of Australia. And so it's, like, far away as fuck. And I'm, like, 17. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do a gap year on this cray boat. And I was like, sick. You know, some of the guys that, like, I thought were really cool in town did it, and, like, they're older, and I was like, sick. And I didn't really know what the hell what it was gonna be. I had no idea. But it ended up being a coming of age experience that I was just lucky enough to get into, right? Because it was like, a bunch of older guys on a boat working hard. I learned how to use my body, and I learned how to do hard things and build resistance and resilience in myself, which I'd lost from that age of 11 to 17, you know? Everything was just like, I'd gone from being a bush kid and learning how to fend on the land and, like, you know, learning, and then going back to Dunsborough, like in the southwest, and had a pretty free life and a lot of nature and things like that. And then in high school, it was just like confusing and hormones and
High
shit.
school's
You know?
tough, bro. Hormones are still getting you, bro.
But I just remember like being on this plane on the way to Queensland, and I was like, wow, I'm such a fucking failure. Like, I'm not going to uni. What am I doing? Like, I'm gonna go work on this boat. Like, what the fuck? And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it anyway. And then I get to Queensland and stay with the owner's dad, who's like this 80-year-old dude, 86. You know, he's an old school fisherman, like got Parkinson's, like cool dude. And he like puts me in a truck that drives up the coast of Queensland with this like super racist dude listening to country music and smoking cigars. And there's little fat Josh, like 17, and I'm like,
you were
shit.
fat?
Yeah, dude, I was a little chubby kid. Hey,
no way.
It's so funny.
What the hell?
And I just remember being like, what the hell am I doing? Like, going up to North Queensland. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And he's like, the guy's like spitting, like talking about running over Aboriginals and stuff. And I was like, this is hectic. Like, yeah, like full racist, dude. And and I get up there and I'm like, okay, so what happens? And he's like, yeah, we're gonna get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you're gonna help the guys unload the boat. And I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? He's like, you unload the boat. And he just walks away, and I was like, okay, shit, all right, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, gonna get up. And I'm like, get up at 4 o'clock, so you have to come in, they come down from out of the sea, and they come down the river. This is in Cooktown in northern Queensland. If you can Google, it's like the middle of butt-fuck nowhere. Like the tip of northeast Australia.
Yeah.
And these guys, coming down, I'm like, okay, like, how do I introduce myself? Am I Josh? Am I like Joshy?
Am I Joshua?
Am I Dittmer? Like, I was like, fuck, what do I say? I was like, okay. And then all these guys get off the boat. Everyone ignores me because they're just working. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, just pick up a crate and start moving. And it's like hot and sweaty. It's Queensland. It's like everyone's sweating in like 4 a.m. in the morning. It's like hot, like tropical temperatures. Yeah. And we unload the thing, and I like sort of introduce myself to a few people. Everyone's just ignoring me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, shit, like, see you later, truck driver dude. I'm like my only friend. And then everyone goes into Cooktown, and there's a top pub, and then there's the like middle pub, and basically like a lower pub. Everyone goes to the top pub, and there's literally no one on the boat except for me. And I was like, should I go grab some Coke, Coca-Cola, or like do whatever the fuck you want, man. See you later. And they'll get in a taxi and leave, and I'm like,
what do I do?
Oh, shit. Yeah. I was like, okay. And I'd been studying aviation in high school. So I had my little aviation book, and I was like, I'm gonna like study while I'm like, waiting for everyone. I'm like, while I'm out at sea, right? Just in case I go back to university. Like, and then like everyone's gone for a few hours, and I'm just wandering around. No idea where my bed is. Didn't have any bedding or anything like that. And I'm like, okay.
So you were there, like you have nowhere to go.
No, yeah, there's no escape. And so like they go, and then like a couple of hours, everyone comes back, and literally everyone on the boat is drunk except for me. Like the skipper, everybody's drunk. There's me, and then there's a fleet manager who's on the shore, and he's just like, holy shit, everyone's drunk. And we go to shoot out to sea, and I'm like, okay, like I don't know where my bed is, but we'll figure this out. I'm like, all right. And I was like, surely they've got some bedding and some towels, because they told me not to bring it, right? They're like, we've got everything on board. And so you've got the main boat, if you can imagine. It's like 22, 24 meters, sleeps like 14 people. And then there's like smaller boats that we dive off. And so you want to have this main boat go out to sea before you tie the smaller boats on behind, because the tide's really strong and they can crash into each other and wrap around the lead lights, like the channel markers and stuff. Right. Everyone's pissed as newts. So as we pull off with the big boat, there's like a metal grate that sits on the back of the boat. Tide catches the main boat and rips half this freaking metal grate off. I'm like there with my bags, and I'm like, shit, this is not looking good. Half the crew is like, holy shit, and the other half like, yeah! Like, and the fleet manager's on this deck shore like, holy shit, what's happening? And I'm like, oh, okay, hectic. And then like we go out a little bit, and then everyone brings the boats in, and they tie them off, and then they like, but it's too early. Yeah. And so they tie them off, and then all these boats start to crash into each other. One of them wraps around the lead lights. And if you know anything about northern Queensland, like,
which I don't.
So if like basically south is like sharks, north is like crocodiles. So
perfect, best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's sort of meet in the middle, right? Yeah. And then brown water, it means you don't swim in it because there's crocodiles. Like you don't swim in it.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. You'll die. And crocodiles are smart, man. Like those things are shady.
That's a one bite right there.
Yeah. And then death rolls and shit, fuck you up. And then so like half the crew is like jumping in this crocodile water, and like I'm just sitting there like, holy heck, literally only sober person on the boat. And like half the crew is like, yeah, half the crew is jumping in the water, and then like someone chops a rope, so like the boats are like going off down the river and stuff. sorted it out really quick because these guys like had their shit together. You know, even though they were drunk, they were seamen. And so they were like, they knew what they were doing when, you know.
Semen work better when they're drunk. Semen works better when it's drunk.
And then, and so I'm like, holy heck, this is like something serious. And so I'm 17, right? My bags are still
Second
on the back
day.
deck. First day. It's
First day still.
Yeah, I hadn't even,
Still
we hadn't
first
even
day.
left. Yeah, we'd like hadn't even left like the creek or the river. And this guy walks up, and I'll never forget it. This guy ended up being best friends with Harry. He had someone's cast on. You know, there's like casts that you can take on and off, like for broken arms.
Right.
And he's just like, he's running around shooting people like it's a Buzz Lightyear thing. He's like, pew, 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 pew. And I was like, I'm like, what the fuck? Some other guy was like bleeding, and then this guy walks up to me, and he's got like it's like a Powerade bottle with a hose stuck in it and a cone piece. And it's clearly a bomb. And he just walks up to me, he's like, hey dude, you want to hit? And I hadn't smoked when I was in high school and shit. And I was like, yeah, of course. I hadn't smoked for like 6 months, but I was like, yeah, man, yeah, trying to be cool and shit.
Yeah.
And I just like, don't worry, and I just hit this like massive bong, 17, like green as anything, and just was like, and it was bad times, man. Like, so I was like out there on this boat, everyone's like back on the boat, and I'm super stoned. And like started to get a little bit like, I just didn't have awareness around my surroundings, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I got to find someone to figure out where my bed is, you know, like one track mind. So I go up to who I thought was in charge, and I'm gonna go up to this dude and I'm like, oi, where's my bed?
Yeah.
And this guy is just like, looks at me like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I don't fucking know. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I start walking around, I'm like, shit, okay, that was a dumb idea. That's probably like the boss or leader or something. Is he gonna bash me up or what? I'm like, fucking start stressing, and then the paranoia like starts to sink in all the way. And I was just like, oh shit. And I finally find the skipper, and I'm like, hey man, so Berto, do you know where my bed is? Like, and he's like, yeah, man, just ask one of the guys downstairs. And so I'm like, fuck, I just did that. And I was like, yeah, no worries. I go back downstairs. I'm like, shit, there's that dude that told me to fuck off. I'm like, okay, don't ask him.
Not that one.
I'm like, hey man, so do you know where my bed is? And he's like, yeah, no, I didn't, like, we didn't know you were coming. I don't know if there's any room. And I'm just like, what? And my heart just like stops. I'm ripped as fuck. Just stoned out of my brains. And I'm just like, shit. Okay, cool. And he's like, actually, hang on, we'll check this out.
Okay, cool.
And he's like, there's a board. Like, so as you go down in the galley, there's like a sink, and there's bedrooms scattered across. There's a sink, and there's what used to be an old shower. And they put a board in it for like storage.
Right.
And so it was like it become a storage compartment. And like there was like these divots where like the shower curtain used to be. Like they made it so there has to be less curtain, the water escapes less into the side. And there's this board halfway. And he's like, hang on a sec. And he opens the curtain. There's a vacuum cleaner, there's a sack of potatoes, and there's a sack of onions. And then there's this like paper thin mattress. And he's like, yeah, this will be you for the next couple of weeks until we get back and someone gets off. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you'll be fine, it'll be sweet. And I'm like, oh, they told me there was no, like I didn't need to bring any bedding or like, you know, towels or anything like that. And he's like, oh, you definitely should have got that. And he's like, yeah, you'll be fine, mate. And I'm like, oh, shit. I was like, okay. And everyone starts to get the munchies. They're rummaging in bags of chips and shit. And I'm just like, you know, there's some guys on the back deck. I sort of wander around for a bit. And I'm like, just put my bag on top of the potatoes, like underneath my thing. And I like get into bed. And I had a pillow, found a pillow, no pillowcase. And I didn't bring a towel, so I didn't have anything to like protect me from the outside galley or the world or whatever. So I had like a flannelette shirt like hanging over this little curtain. And I'm like, I just remember lying in bed. And I was like, and I couldn't lie on my back. It's like a foot too short. And so I'm like on my side, like curled up. Yeah. And all I remember was just like, that first night, I was just thinking, and all you can hear is like the room of like the engine, and the whole thing like vibrates through your whole body. And I was like, everyone's mad. I'm super stoned. And I just want to go home. I was like, and everyone's mad. And I just remember lying there just thinking, I'm like, there's no escape. I'm just going further.
I'm in
and
hell.
Further
I'm
and
in
further
hell.
out to sea,
This is
dude.
hell.
It was so fucked. I think I was literally like, am I going to survive? I was like, Mom,
where are you?
And I ended up staying for 2 years. The best thing I've ever done in my life.
2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
You stayed for 2 years?
Not in that bed, like not in the compartment. I got upgraded,
shit.
but like shit.
Okay.
But
oh my God. Okay, cool.
yeah, and that was hard. I wanted to cry, like I wanted to go home, and I wanted to escape, and it just built metal in me. And it just like, I learnt from working beside other men how to do things, and I learnt how to be resilient and you figure stuff out. You know, when the boat broke down, I was like, yeah, don't worry, I got it. I know how to fix the motors. And then your boat breaks down and you're like 30 miles, 20 miles away from the boat, and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Like, do I unscrew this? Like, what's the filter look like? I'm like, shit.
Oh,
like,
no.
You know, and you just learn to figure it out and like hit someone up on the radio and be like, yeah, dude. So like, I forgot. Like, remind me again how to flood, like, clear the carburetors. Like, look at this guys. Like,
shit. Was the pay good?
It was shit as a dory driver, which was like a driver. You got a wage, and then as a crate diver, you got some pretty good money. It was fun.
So
I think at 17, 18, I made like 50 grand. I think the first year. Yeah. 18, you were like shit.
Yeah. Holy
living on a boat.
Shit. That's a hell of a story, my guy.
Fun times.
That's a hell of a story. Why? So from the first night to the last night, like, we know what you're thinking on the first night. What the hell were you thinking on your last night there?
I was about to... I didn't realize at the time, but I was leaving the freest environment that I'd ever been in. And so I was just like, yeah, whatever, next step, I'll figure it out. But that was the most treasured. Like, it was hard, dude, and it was hard, and I like had some really bad times, and I like had to grow the fuck up. Like, I was a little softy.
Yeah, of course.
And like, I didn't get along with everybody, and like, nobody, like, we're living on a boat with 14 other dudes or like 8 other dudes.
Who are men or your age as well?
It ranged to like 26, probably the oldest, and then guys like 17, 18, 19, 20s, early 20s.
Just grunts.
Yeah, exactly.
The best. Grunt work, baby, in the trenches. I love it. That's amazing. So you're leaving that last night there. What was your plan from there?
My cousin worked on a gas project, driving boats. So I was
fucking
like,
random.
Yeah, and he'd worked on these like sort of famous boats in Australia and stuff. So I was like, got a job up there. It was like 130, 140 grand. I was like, yo, I'm out of here. It's like 18. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I went and did that, and it was month on, month off. So you'd work a month, and then you'd have a month holiday. So I went and did some freediving courses, went to Europe, had a good old time. But it really like it was boring. It was just so different. Like, I was wearing a fucking hard hat and steel toe boots and like high vis vest and like overalls and shit on a boat.
Didn't make any sense.
I was like, was a fucking seagull gonna hit me in the head?
Yeah, like,
you know what
what's
I mean?
gonna happen here?
Completely different world, and it was just like a really cool example of like I think money is really, really, really important, and I don't think like fuck your dreams. I mean, like, fuck the money, go follow your dreams.
Right.
Like, there has to be a middle point.
Yeah.
But it was just a stark realization, like, well, money is like not fulfilling, just that particular thing, and like there are other ways to make money. And it was really, really interesting.
Money will take you so far, right? Like, money will take you so far. Money will take you to the next realization. Right, like in your case where it's like, they're making X amount a year. How much you just say? How many zeros on that? Okay, let me go over there.
Yeah.
Right, let me go over there for a little while, and then you're like, oh wait, no, I have it, and I just have more zeros on my bank account. Like, okay, what now?
And I was out of integrity. Like, it was like literally like destroying the reef.
Oh,
and it's like,
fuck.
I love the ocean, man. I love the environment.
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh.
just like, it didn't look like it at the start, but all the silt from dredging suffocated the reef, because like when the tide would take it was in the Pilbara in Western Australia, so the dirt's red, and it just covered the reef and just like would suffocate the reef from sunlight, which is what it feeds on.
So it dies.
And just
savage.
And I still stayed for like another year after I knew that, and it was just like,
oh, tough.
Just like, it was really, and again, like, glad I had that experience at that age, because I just don't step over that integrity line, because I'm like, I felt it killing me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it will kill you.
Well,
it will kill you.
Dead inside.
Might not kill you the first day. The first day you might be like, okay, this is a little wrong, but I'm still gonna do it because I'm still getting paid.
Yeah.
And then just try for a week. Are you try for a week? Okay, try for a month. You can't do it. Your soul's gonna die.
Yeah.
And that light inside you is gonna die because something's like internally wrong. But you know what? That brings you to a really good point where it's like, so money gets you to a certain point, but it's that point after that. It's like certain motivations get you to certain spots. So like you're interesting to me because it's like this whole concept of like self-improvement and masculinity and growth has got you to a certain point, and communication and leadership has gotten to you to a certain point. Now what's interesting for me is what's the next iteration of that? So where does the pivot point come from that? So for instance, like you're at a point where you chase this money for a little while and then you pivoted, right? Or people that are in school for 4 years or the whole life and then they pivot. It's that moment of pivoting that is so instrumental. And I think that you've spoken before about you can act out of fear and you can just let fear kind of like dictate how you move, and you're like, oh shit, I'm not going to be accepted here, I'm not good enough here, this isn't going to work for me for these reasons, versus like taking ownership and taking control of the whole situation, right? So in that situation, you're in that spot where you're making X amount a year, but you're still only 19, right? Like, that's a baby, right? So that moment between, okay, I'm making money, but I hate this, and, you know, the next step past that, where there's this gaping unknown of like, what the fuck am I gonna do? So once you quit that, or these moments in your life, you kind of took these like jumps, what guided you through that moment or that period or those months or those nights or whatever it is of like, holy shit, what the fuck am I gonna do here? What was the wind in your sails there?
I think just that constant like hunger and searching and like really wanting to understand who I am,
right,
and my identity. And, you know, I started to seek out like men's initiation. And I was like, what is this? You know, like where can I find this? You know, I was Googling it, I was looking for it and stuff, and then I was back 1 month, and my brother Ben and our best friend Munro at the time, I was like, guys, let's start a men's group. And I was like, sick, we're gonna get together, we're gonna talk about our goals, and then we'll figure something out. We're just gonna talk about what's happening, and you just sort of talk, you know, off the cuff and just be honest and like whatever, you know, no bullshit, okay? Yeah. Because they're like, cool, okay, like sort of, you know, follow me a bit, and then I get there, and Munro had like come in from out of town, you know, and like the small town we grew up in was like 4,000 people.
Oh wow.
And so that guy that I went to America with, Talon, his younger sister Oakley is Ben's age, and she was like the girl next door growing up, like a babe. And Munro snagged Oakley. And we were like, who the fuck is this guy? Just like came in out of nowhere and snagged her. And so instead of talking about all this stuff that we had planned, we just ended up talking about how the fuck Munro snagged Oakley, and he was from out of town. And so like the first iteration of the men's group was a disaster, but got some good insight on the side. And then, you know, I kept searching and trying to figure it out, and I just found this group called the Mankind Project. And it was at men's initiation weekends, like Warrior Weekend, and I was like, Warrior, sick, I like the sound of that. And I called up and I'm like, hey dude, I'm so, you know, wondering, like, I've heard about men's initiation and this sort of stuff, and I really want to do it. And I was like, when's the next one? He's like, oh, it's in Sydney. And he's like, yeah, it's in a month and a half. And I was like, okay, can me and my brother come? And he's like, oh, how old are you? And I was like, 20. I'm 20. And he's like, how old's your brother? 19. And he's like, oh shit. Because like wasn't common for guys that age to do it. It's usually like guys in their 30s and stuff.
Right.
And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, how do we pay for it? Let's do it. And so pretty much just like winging it. And then Ben and Munro didn't end up coming with us, which his life actually sort of went down a different path, unfortunately. And yeah, Ben and I ended up just getting on a plane, and we were just pretty much flying by the seat of our pants, just being like, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. We're back on a plane over east again, thinking, what am I doing? And went to Sydney, thought we were going to get picked up by one of the staff members. Turns out we were like, what was his name? Zyra or something. And he picks us up, and we're like, hey man, so we're in the car, like with all our bags from the airport, met him downtown, and we're like, so what's this about? What's going on? He's like, I've got no idea. No, I'm just participating. I'm not one of the staff men. And we were like, what? And he's like, yeah. Like it was just all organized. Yeah. Like they just linked us together and said, figure it out. And we drove south to about 2.5 hours into the bush south of Sydney. And it just was a weekend of intense exploration of emotions, challenges, and what I was really after, which was who I am as a man. And that transition from boyhood to manhood, and it was the catalyst to me switching paths and going and making an impact, and thinking about legacy, figuring out what my shadow was and what my goal is, and really working through the gritty stuff that we don't get approached by in regular society. And so it really was just one of the hardest and rewarding things I've ever done. And and you're pleasantly, I was gonna say exhausted, but fucked.
Yeah.
And you just just push yourself to your limits, and you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was what it was, and I don't want to divulge too much into it, because there's magic in not knowing when you go on the weekend, and it's unreal.
Okay, so that was my next question. Like, what the fuck is this? All right.
It's a challenge. It's a weekend of pushing yourself to your edge. And I think as men, we need to dance with our edge, and that feeling like
totally
that I'm alive. And that comes physically and also spiritually.
Yeah, that's a really fun place. Like Jordan Peterson says, live life on the edge of balance or stability and chaos. Live life on the edge of stability and chaos, where it's just like shit could go wrong at any moment, but that's the fun of it, right? Like that is, and I just want to constantly live there. Where you just get stagnant and comfortable. Like, trust me, like 6 hours of comfortability it gets old really quick. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that shit. So you said, so you're fitting into this like archetype, kind of, in a way, or you've chosen this path, this way of thinking. What would you say to someone that says, okay, Josh, like I get Jesus, I get this whole, push yourself to the edge and go and exhaust yourself and exert yourself and just drain yourself of energy emotionally and physically. But at the end of the day, why can't you be happy being comfortable? We're all striving for happiness and calmness and balance and tranquility in our life. Why can't you just find tranquility without being this fucking maniac that goes on, random boat trips and goes across to the States on tours and shit like that? Why can't you just find tranquility in the wholesomeness of a home or, a studio or whatever it may be, just being that quote unquote homebody, right? What would you say to someone who's like, well, there's happiness in that, don't you think?
I think there's happiness in that, but only when you get to experience the opposite side of that. I was camping with some friends the other night, up in Squamish, and it was like, we'd had fun time, took some mushrooms, wandered around, went through the bush. It was fucking good times. And we just sat around shooting the shit out around the fire, taking the piss out of each other, and having a good laugh. And I was, my sleeping mat was in the car, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go walk through the bushes and get the sleeping mat, or I can, just sleep on the sand in my sleeping bag. And I was like, oh, I'll go get the sleeping mat, it'd be way more comfy. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna sleep on the sand. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but I'm gonna fucking appreciate my bed tomorrow.
Wow.
And I was like, no, I just get the mat, and I'm laying there. I'm like, fuck, dude, this is really uncomfortable. I was like, it's kind of cold. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really appreciate that bed tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, that bed's gonna be so good.
So you're putting yourself through pain.
And I just slept on it, man. And it was like, it was so rewarding. And it was just like, I woke up and I was like, fuck, that was uncomfortable. But man, when I got back to my bed, I was like, yeah, boy, snuggle up next to my girlfriend, grab a titty, and I'm just sitting up in there, and she's like soft and warm, and you're like, so grateful I slept on that sand last night. It's like, makes us appreciate the other side.
For sure, man. I said that to our 4th episode. We had this guy, Lucky, on, and he's a ultra marathoner, Ironman. And I was like, you're always looking for human optimization and all that stuff. You're always trying to find the best way to do things, the most efficient way to do things and stuff like that. Isn't there beauty in just saying fuck it and just killing yourself on something? Just kill yourself on that hill. Just run that hill 100 times just because it sucks. Just do it that way. Why don't you do it that way? And he's like, Josh, there's enough pain in life, man. Why are you trying to make your life shitty? Yeah. Josh, why are you sleeping on fucking sand when you had a mat right there? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? I don't even know the answer, and I'm still like you, where I'm just like, I want the path of most resistance. And it just so happens that what I found in my experience is the path of most resistance, you reap what you sow. And resistance is just sowing. So I'm just gonna reap the hell out of that, right? And I don't care what it's like right now, but I just want the benefits down the road, and I want the extreme contrast. So part of me is like trying to get that amazing esoteric success or whatever that is, and then part of me is like, no, let's go as deep down as possible into the fucking depths so we can see, live on the most extremes possible. And there's a subconscious fucking frame in my head constantly being like, no, like, find a way to fuck it up, find a way to fuck it up, find a way to fuck it up, right? So you can dig your way out of it, because digging your way out of it's so much fun.
You're masochist, you're like, yeah, baby.
So that's it. Anyway, so through all of this, through all these men's groups and these initiations and this quest for knowledge and identity, through all this now, you're 25 now. I saw that little hole, fuck. So, like, did he just ask?
I was like, how old am I? Shit.
So what's important to you now? What's important in your life now?
Freedom.
Freedom
is the most important thing. Yeah.
Freedom in what regard?
Freedom from other people's agendas,
Oh.
I think, is huge. I think we can get trapped by working for somebody else and then just doing the 9-to-5 grind or whatever it is. And then, sometimes you get more freedom when you're you work on commission or whatever, but it's still for somebody else's agenda. And if you have more to give, they're going to take as much as they can. And I think that's cool, when you're my age or our age and you got the energy for that. But when more important things come up, like starting a family and, giving back to the things that are important to you, taking time, I think that working time for money is a trap. Yeah. And it's like, sure, I don't mind being around for month's end and pushing back my holiday now, but like whatever it is, like 5 years down the track when something more important comes up, I'm gonna mind.
Yeah.
And I think that the realization that the system that we're in is designed for us to be consumers and not to be prosumers, and to actually be giving our gift to the world. And so that's why freedom is huge to me, because like I think our circle of influence is so much more influential than we think.
Oh, totally.
And it's like, I don't want to have to send my kids to a regular fucking like kindy or preschool and be like, and not knowing what that 22-year-old girl's telling the kids.
What is it with you Aussies, bro? Send it to kindy, like just fucking say kindergarten, bro. Like, come on now. What else? What is some other slang? I'm just like cutting you off like crazy, but like whatever it is, you always have some shit.
Man, I was at this Australian bar the other night. Bianca, my girlfriend, ran this like fundraiser event. It was at this Australian bar, and like it was like, man, like they had potato wedges with sour cream and sweet chili sauce. And it was so nostalgic. I just remember being in the pub with my dad and just being like, Dad's drinking a beer and me and my brother are just trying to like, you get extra sour cream and chili sauce, because you always go through the sauce compared to the chips, man. And it was just like, I was just sitting in this Australian pub and I was like, yeah, boy, this is Australian.
That's freedom.
So good. Yeah, that's freedom, man.
That's freedom
just
right there.
Fucking chips I want.
This is America, goddammit. Do whatever the fuck I want. So freedom in, actually hold up, you said a word that's really interesting. Our life, our culture, society teaches us to be consumers rather than prosumers. Mm-hmm. What's a prosumer?
So a prosumer is like, say for example, if I have a store, if I have an Italian shop and we sell pasta, and we don't go down to fucking Luigi's store down the street and buy the pasta down there. You eat at home. And it's like, we look at it around in our lives, and there's so many ways that we can do that. And people, like, it would be like you guys, not rocking the self-hide brand and shopping somewhere else.
Yeah.
Fucking retarded.
Yeah.
But like, we don't think like that. And we look elsewhere for these sort of things, and it doesn't have to be material. It can be within our relationships and our friend groups and shit. And it's like using your power circle.
You just won like 50 people over just with that right there. Like, yeah, that's my fucking guy right there. That's my shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, why would you go down the shop? Just shop at home. Why would you go down the street for food, eat at home? Home is where the heart is for sure. And then you cultivate culture, right? That's amazing. Freedom is really cool. Becoming a prosumer is really cool. So becoming a prosumer is at the end of the day, your money spent is going back into your ecosystem.
Yeah.
back into your ecosystem, and that's why community and things like microfinance and things like that are so freaking important, because you're literally just injecting money into the ecosystem that's staying into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's like I always think of it in terms of like, I don't know why I think of it this way because I'm not a fisherman at all, but I always think of salmon, where it's like we've just raped our ecosystem of salmon in certain situations in certain areas, but it's like going in there and releasing, you know, fish into the wild, and they're going to continue that cycle. You release fish more, right, until it actually gets into an abundant situation and a prosperous situation, and which ultimately will lead to freedom, because you're not dependent on external sources. And that, if you have that, if you become a prosumer on a high level, you in turn, you're not dependent on any other ecosystem outside of your own. And that's beautiful. And that's how you can really get things done. And that's why I admire businessmen that build, you know, empires in a way, because it's like, yeah, you're creating jobs, that's amazing. But anything you want done, you want to get done, oh, you need this done, you need that done, you want to build this, or you want to create this, or you want to build this type of person, like, dude, you can do all of that within your own house, and that's beautiful.
That's exactly what, that's
right?
exactly where my train of thought was going. And I think like you know, the family unit is so undervalued these days. It's just horrific, man. And like, it's fucking kids up, you know? And it's like, where, like, it's crazy. And I think that coming back to that and like valuing men and women and having, you know, it's like the men are like, yo, fuck this shit, like, me too, this is hectic, I'm not even want a wife, like, you know, MGTOW, like, men going their own way, fuck chicks. It's like, you know, there's that extreme view, and then there's like on the women's side, they're like, I don't need no man, and like government's got them.
I'm a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, shit. And like the government's got them supported, and it's like, there's no value in each other, you know what I mean? And we both bring such different things to the table.
Totally.
And then it's like, and then you raise a child, you know? It's not like, you don't want the fucking government raising your kid. Like, who wants the government to raise their kid? If you said, here, who am I gonna, you know, am I gonna choose my auntie, or like, you know, my grandma, or do I give it to the government? And it's like, that's what happens when we split and we don't value things like what you said, prosuming in the home, and really being able to instill values into our kids. And, you know, that's where you make change. And, you know, it's not in like, you know, donating $2 when you check out to save a tree. Like,
yeah, it's definitely not there, but it could be there. I don't mean to shit on that, but you know what? It's like, we preach diversity, right? Diversity is amazing, but then you start to get to the spot where like, I am this, and this is my identity, and this is what I am, and this is the entirety of my being. I am white, I am black, I am Asian, I am bi, whatever it may be, right? Or I'm a strong woman, I'm a strong man, I'm a strong whatever the fuck you are, right? And then all of a sudden you get a bunch of eyes. You just get a bunch of eyes that just work, you know, they don't work collectively, they just work individually as eyes in different groups. So there's no mutual respect where it's like, oh, well fuck, man, because toxic masculinity. Like, what a terrible word. Toxic masculinity. Like, oh yeah, well there's toxic femininity as well. Like toxic feminists. Like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, oh man, I bet I'm gonna get some hate for saying that right there, right? But it's just like, everyone's living on these extremes, and there's no collaboration or appreciation for togetherness, right? So diversity can be great, but diversity can be toxic at the same time. Whoa. Like, for instance, a macro scale of that is, you know, look at Canada, look at America. These are experiments of like blending different cultures that have worked out for, well, in some cases super well, but in other cases not so well, because different cultures are so isolated, and when you put them together, they don't mesh well, right? So this is like, speaks into a larger narrative of, we grab onto these identities, and what I'm trying to get to here is, we grab onto these identities of, this is who I am, this is me, I am this group, I am this group, I'm a vegan, I'm a keto guy, I'm a workout guy, or whatever it may be, right? And your identity latches onto that, rather your identity just latching onto your soul, right? Rather than just transcending your ego and just like, you know, like, because if you don't, or if you haven't fully accepted your own self, or you're fully projecting yourself onto a group, and you're in this weird in-between part, That's a really scary part to be in, right? Like, who am I? Like, oh my God. I'm sure you've been there. Who am I? Like, where do I go from here? I don't even know, because I can't attach myself to anything. So conceptually, I don't have the confidence to stand alone. So where the fuck do I go from there? I don't know. I'm in that spot right now, man. I'm in a spot where I'm so many different parts, so many different avenues, so many different people that exist within this person sitting across the table from you. Like, I don't belong in any one group at all, you know? And so having the independence to just stand up as a totem pole of your own stories is like something I'm trying to do, right? Without having those core values. I just think we get lost. That's all I'm trying to say. I just think we get lost in identity. Like, we get lost in archetypes. We get lost in personalities, you know, rather than just getting back to what matters. But then it raises the question, like, what matters? Like, at the end of the day, what matters? Does having a good friend group matter? Does having an identity matter? Does having a family matter? Does having good morals matter? Does having purpose and fulfillment matter? How many buckets can you fill in your life? I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, bro. I just went on a rant. I'm having some trouble, clearly.
I think, like, as you know, as a society, it's like without that, with the lack of identity and everything, we have a bunch of people that like don't feel supported, and so you have a whole lot of nihilistic behavior, and it's like, I don't give a fuck. You know, apathy on the scale of emotions is the lowest, and it has the least amount of energy. Like, anger is higher than apathy, and it's like, I don't care about you is the society that we're coming to, and it's like, you see it, and it's like, why would I, logically, it's like, well, why would I care? Like, why would I care? Why not just fend for myself, you know?
Right.
And I think that's what that breeds, you know, that the lack of identity and the confusion that we have in society and in this mixing and blending. And I think, you know, to bring it back to you personally, I think that as, you know, with the work in your career that you have right now, it's like you have a mentor, right? And someone to learn off. And I think as men, you know, man, I can only speak to men, like, we're such a blank slate. It's like we need someone to show us the way. And I think that these are the things that fulfill us, is when we know who we're going to become. We know who we are. We have a path to follow, and we have, I would say, a purpose to fulfill, you know? And I think that is when I was most confused and most unhappy, was when I didn't have an idea of, like, or any guidance, because I was in this searching phase, you know, and I had this lack. And it's like, we follow this universal story, which is the hero's journey. I'm not sure if you know, like, Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. It's just like this, it's the snake's tail that eats itself, you know? And it's like, I
haven't heard that before.
We start off as, you know, young, confused and whatever, and then we go off, and then there's like resistance, and then we find a mentor, and then there's resistance to the mentor, and then we go out and find the gold and whatever, and then we bring it back to the community. And I think there's a huge lack of that, and I think that, you know, male guidance for men is huge, and you need to know who the fuck you're looking at. You know, most people are just like listening to their friends who are the same age as them.
Dumbasses too.
Don't know what the fuck they're doing. You know what I mean? And you're just like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Oh, you shouldn't do that, man. Like, no, that's the shady. I heard they're like a little bit like a cult or whatever. You know, it's just like, come on, man. And it's like, does this person, you know, this like building discernment is like, does this person have what I want? Have they been where I am, and do they have what I want? You know what I mean? And it's huge. It's like, it can be that simple, but it's fucking complicated to figure out, because you got to learn to assess people and like understand, like, if someone's full of shit or not. No. You know, because there's a whole lot of people that are full of shit.
Most people. Yeah. Most people are full of shit. Yeah. Yeah. Most people haven't worked through their own shit. I love the concept of the hero's journey. That was introduced to me in a different way. So as much as you, when you had that experience when you were 17, I had a similar experience when I went to Europe and played basketball for a year, before I tore my ACL a year later. And on the plane right over there, my father gave me a book called 7 Arrows. And 7 Arrows is a story, but it's a Native American book that in their culture, life is about completing the sun dance. And the sun dance is really interesting, because it's like north, south, east, west, right? Creates a circle, creates a compass, right? we all start out somewhere on those 360 degrees. Now, so each one of those, like north, I forget what it is. I think north is wisdom, south is innocence, west is strength, and I'm forgetting the fourth. But we all are somewhere on that spectrum of we're strong and wise, or we're innocent and intelligent. You know what I'm saying? We all start in this one spot. We have this initial kind of thought or intuitive nature, and that's where their names come from. We're like, so if you're yellow mouse, you're a strong but innocent person. You know, like it's the animals reflect these differences,
cool.
and that's where the names come from.
Cool.
You know, if you're an elk or these, you know, like those are more dominant things, right? So it's amazing. You started on this one spot, and it's the hero's journey. But I had never heard of the hero's journey, and this is the first time I was introduced to it. Have you heard of this Sundance at all?
No,
You've never heard of this
No.
before? Damn, cool. So Seven Arrows teaches this story of this mouse who like starts off in this one spot, and he's lied to essentially over and over again. But he's initially told, he starts at home, and his mother's like, I need you to go find some bread in the south. And or to find something in the south. Just find, go to the south and find this thing that I need, right? Okay, cool, Mom, I'll go. And he finds all these. He has to go over these, these canyons and through these forests and through these oceans. And to get over the ocean, he hops on a tortoise's back, and he finally gets to the south, and he's like, oh shit, it's not here. Like my mom lied to me. Like my mom, like she was just telling me what she wanted, And you realize that's not important. It's well, what do you want? And then you get there, and there's a fox in the south, and the fox is like, no, I know what you need. Go to the east. And he goes to the east, and again, he has all these trials and tribulations, and it's not there. And he goes to the north, and it's not there. And then he goes all around. And he ends up coming back home, and he's like, Mom, like I didn't find anything. But the whole point was the journey in finding wisdom, finding strength, finding intelligence, right? Finding innocence. So we had to go around and complete the Sundance before coming home. And once you come home, your responsibility is to give it back to the people and share those experiences and guide people on that journey. So the tortoise was in on it, the fox was in on it, everyone was in on it. And it seems you were mad at them at the time, but they're actually trying to help you, right? And that you just needed to understand their perspective. So that's a version of the hero's journey in a way, but it's also, the funny part about that is that once you come back into the Sundance, have you ever heard of the Sundance ritual or anything like that? No? This is crazy. I always sound like, I'm getting so woo-woo right now. I fucking love it. The Sundance ritual is once you come back, you've learned all these things, but you've only experienced them on a conscious level. You haven't experienced them on a subconscious level. So Native Americans, there's a spot called the Four Corners, and I think it's in the corner of Utah, Colorado, California, and Nevada. No, I made that up. Something like around that area.
Let's roll with it.
Did I make that up? Whatever.
First time hearing it.
Yeah, whatever. We usually have a fact checker that calls me out on shit. Then that's my girlfriend Tracy in the background saying I'm wrong. They go to this place called the Four Corners, and to complete the Sundance. So in the Four Corners, it's incredibly fucking dry. There's no water. There's no nothing. So you hike out to this like cave. And you're dehydrated, you're sweating, you're just in a terrible state after you've completed the Sundance. This is the way it's described in the book. I haven't actually verified any of this. I just read it. They go back there, and they literally take the teeth of a fox, and they pin you up against a tree. They literally, like through your skin, they crucify you. Your own chief, your own tribe crucifies you. And that's to release, literally, to put you through such immense pain that your body releases DMT in your own mind. So you have a DMT psychedelic experience to let your subconscious properly process the Four Corners. And if you survive that, if you survive the resiliency, you're a Sundancer, which is the highest ranking or the highest, title in a tribe.
Amazing.
Just crazy, right?
Amazing. That's so sick.
Which ties a ton of things in, because as a man, you go through these like spots of like, oh, strength is what I need. Oh, wait, no, innocence is what I need. Oh, no, I need to be compassionate. Oh, no, I need to be hard. I need to be a leader. I need to be this. I need to be that. And then like you compartmentalize those things rather than bringing everything together. So That's cool. But so the mushroom thing that you were talking about is very cool. Have you ever gone all the way to the edge, past mushrooms or past any of that stuff, and really gone to the edge with psychedelics at all?
No. But I've taken mushrooms like 4 times.
So I was hoping you were gonna say, yeah, dude, in these men's groups, bro.
It was with the guys from the men's group.
Oh,
so
there you
shit.
go. Yeah. So that's pretty trippy as well. But so my question to you is, when you see these people in these different spots of their journey, right? Because as you go through, you start to realize, oh, this person is at this spot. Oh, this person is at this spot. This is where they're at, thinking mentally. How do you change your method of communication to these different people? Because for me, I can only I can talk to people like Josh. I can't talk to people that are not A-types. It's like I can talk to Josh. I can't talk to some person that is quiet, conservative. I can't motivate them. You know, me and you can sit down and have a fucking prep rally and just get going and get shit done, son. Like, we can go. I already know we can go. You know, but I can't talk to someone who's just like, oh, you know, more intellectual, more like, not saying you're dumb or anything, bro, but like, you fucking going, you know? You know, like someone who's very calm, cool, and collected. I can't, you know, it's hard for me to have that conversation. So as you mentor these people in these different men's group, or even just listen to them, like, how are you trying to communicate to them if you kind of understand where they're at, and there's like a next step on the journey, and you're trying to push them along a little way, but you need to change how you're talking to them. You know what I'm saying? At all? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, where do you think you are on the compass?
On the compass?
Yeah. Where do you think you are?
This is why I hate having people that have podcasts on. It's because they always flip questions back on you.
Surprise,
and shit.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Gotcha, bitch.
They're always like, I don't know, I got him on this one. Where am I on the compass? Okay, so I'm going to ask you where you are on your compass, but I'll give you my answer first. I think I've probably completed, I'm just past the point of, you know, extreme ignorance. There's a hump, right? There's a jump. You got to get over that. Like, oh, I know shit now. Oh, I've went and I've researched, and like, oh, I know all these different things. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I feel like I'm just over the spot of like just realizing the enormity of the universe. And being like, oh, fuck. I'm still really dumb, you know? That's where I'm at.
Yeah. That's like what you said before about the running thing. I was thinking, nah, I'm pretty dumb sometimes because I'll just run at it and then you hit a fucking wall and you're like, oof, oh shit.
Oh shit, where'd that wall come from? Right, where are you on that compass?
I think like I'll use different imagery or archetypes. You know, like I think there's a hero and then there's a warrior. Right. And the hero runs around and he's good at slaying dragons. You know, he runs out and kills shit and loves using his sword and whatnot. And the problem is, once he slays the dragon and there's a princess or some gold behind him, he doesn't know what the fuck to do with the princess. And he's like, shit. All right, I'm gonna go self-sabotage this. I'm gonna go find some more dragons. Runs off and doesn't find any gold. And he doesn't find any princesses. And I think I've transitioned over that hump to being a warrior. And I know what I stand for. I know what I fight for. I know what I want my future to look like. And I feel grounded, you know, to bring it back to what we were talking about before. It's like I feel grounded in my body. I didn't feel grounded. I was just running around with my sword in my hand and dick in the other, and I was just fucking hitting shit.
Sword in one hand, dick in the other. Let's go. Yeah, you just got another 50 fans just like that. Man, I fuck with this guy. Yeah. So now that what did you look like before? Like put this in tangible terms where we got all like methodical and shit. Like what did that stage look like before?
Oh man, uncalibrated, just hitting walls. You know, I was like a little pinball machine. You know, you were talking about running and not looking. I was just fucking hitting shit, and I'd be like, fuck. And I got really sick. You know, I caught this parasite in Nepal, and I was like, fuck. I'm like, you know, I got really, really sick and like had to go home, and I just I'll figure it out and just fucking pump myself I don't know how to kill a parasite, pump myself full of herbs, and I'm like, going to America, sick, let's go. And, you know, I didn't calibrate anything, and so I think like looking at the consequences to my actions is huge, and me like when stuff got hard, I just be like, oh, it's hard, and like keep running at it, you know. Whereas now when stuff gets hard, I'm like, why am I doing this? All right, cool. And I can approach it in, again, bringing it back to groundedness in a way that really is the most effective, rather than just hitting shit with,
Yeah, with the sword of dick. Yeah, that can go wrong. That can go wrong. So with that groundedness now, like, what are you doing today? What's today about? What's tomorrow going to be like? What's next year going to be like? How are you calibrated, and where's your compass pointing to now? Describe your life to those, because honestly, like, describe what you're about now to everyone, to bring it full circle.
Yeah, I think I'm realizing the things that actually impact me the most. Like, I like to think that I have a strong willpower, so I'm like, I can do anything. Like, I don't need anybody. I can figure this out, and I'll just lean into it like really hard. And it's like, ignoring circle of influence, environment, like these sort of things. And I'm like, okay, like, there's been points when I've been doing really well, and there's been points where I've been doing really shitty. And I'm like, it might be a good idea to look at that. And I just look back and I'm like, okay, like, when I'm with other people, when I, train functional patterns, when I'm involved in men's groups, when I'm involved in the community, and when I'm out in nature and I'm doing something that makes me feel alive. And I'm like, okay, so instead of just like, I used to live in company housing, and it's like, cool, I don't have to pay rent. I live in a fucking big ass 5-bedroom house in North Burnaby overlooking the river, like, happy days. But the environment can change, and I don't have any control over that. Or I can be like, okay, I'm gonna spend money to live with who I want, and live with a friend who I want, and choose who's on the same path. Like, that's an example of like what I'm about. It's like looking at the things in my life that influence me and building the right structure around it so I can go where I want to go, which is, that freedom piece, and having time to like, and people around me that are going to influence me in the way I want to be influenced. Like choosing to go to a men's group instead of going to get fucked up, with the boys on a Friday night and going on a bender, spending $900 and being like, sick.
What now?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the conscious choice, and like really looking at choosing what my influences are, because whether I like it or not, there's influences happening.
Of course, everywhere.
All the time,
Yeah. No, totally. So then, what's 30 look like for you?
Shit.
Where are you trying to be at 30?
30?
Paint the picture.
Man,
I'm still
30 years old.
I'm
still
just getting that. I'm just still getting that. Like, God, what's his name? What's that beer commercial? Shit. What is that guy? You know that guy? No. The most interesting man in the world?
I kind of know what you're.
You know what I'm talking about, Joe? Oh, whatever.
I'll be that guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. No, seriously though.
Is it Alexander something or something?
Definitely not. It's like something. It's like Hernando or something.
Yeah, Hernando's way cooler than Alexander, man.
Yeah, come on now. Jesus. Where are you trying to be in 5 years, man? What is 5 years? Like, what is, paint that picture for me vividly.
Yeah, 5 years I think is like, I imagine, I'm physical, if we talk 5 love languages, like physical touch is my love language. So everything is very physical for me.
Totally.
So I imagine myself underwater, shooting some big ass fish. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, 100%. And like, somewhere like, I'd love to dive with some killer whales. I'd love to free dive with some killer whales.
You know the key word is
That'd
there?
be unreal.
Killer. Yeah.
Well, they actually like hunt different species depending on where they live.
Do killer whales eat humans?
Nah, man. No, hell no. That's cool.
Look at me.
I'll bring you with me.
Look at me.
30 years old, I'm going to call you up and we're going to go do it. I'll be like, trust me, Josh.
Hey,
trust me.
Trust me. How long can you hold your breath for? 60 seconds? You good? Let's go.
You can just float on the top. I'll give you some floaties, the little orange ones.
Hell yeah.
We'll be fine.
Hell yeah. Okay, I'll wrap it with this, because I love how you start your podcast with what's your, if you haven't listened to Josh's Live More, Regret Less, go listen to that. You always start it with a high of the week and low of the week. Now, so we've adopted similar practices over here on the ThinkSpace, but it's more towards, you've told us this journey, and you've told us your experiences and your thoughts along this journey, and your decisions along this journey so far, and who you are today, which is fluid and free, right? Which is fucking awesome, which is what I aim to be as well. But along that path, you've had some huge mistakes and some huge wins. Some huge like, oh yeah, I went right and I could have went left, but right was actually the right way. And like, wow, looking back, holy shit, did I make the right decision? So looking back on this whole thing, what was your biggest misstep or failure or mistake, what was it and why did you make it at that time? And then what was your biggest success? What was it and why did you make that decision?
I think my biggest mistake was not admitting that I was sick when I got this parasite. I didn't sleep for nearly a year. I had a tapeworm that I caught in Nepal. We were volunteering after the earthquakes happened, remember a few years ago?
Yeah.
And so we were just sleeping on fucking concrete and like, you know, getting bitten by mosquitoes and like showering in a bucket in the Himalayas and, you know, eating like goat and whatever the hell was going around. And like, yeah, man, I got really sick. I got really, really sick. And like, I just got insomnia. I remember lying awake and I'd just be like crying.
Jesus.
Begging to go back to sleep. I'd just be begging. I'd just be like, please make this stop. Like, please. And, oh, I makes me shiver. It was just horrific. And I was too proud to admit and too fearful that people would see me as weak that I had to, you know, most embarrassing phone call of my life was calling my mum and being like, hey mum, like, I need to come home. Like, I need you to look after me. You know, and I was 22, 23 and I was fucked. And I think the biggest mistake was not looking at it and be like, yo dude, no one's gonna judge you for like
being
not
sick,
sleeping and nearly dying. Like, and I felt like I ran away from people and I just like, there was so much shame carried around that. So much shame.
Yeah, it's tough. We make such stupid decisions. We're fucking proud.
Oh,
dude. Fuck. Yeah.
So dumb.
That's so, yeah. We're idiots. Anyways.
Biggest win?
Yeah, we'll go biggest win.
Okay, biggest win.
We'll go biggest win.
I think there hasn't really been one catalyst moment. I think like it's been, the biggest wins have been when I prepared in secret and was rewarded in public. And so like really practicing the skills of understanding people and learning how to talk, how to speak, how to communicate, how to connect, and like creating discernment, for example, and then being in a moment where I knew what to say. And I was able to impact someone in that moment.
Nice.
And it changed their life. And
Hell
I think that nothing just happens, you know?
Yeah.
Opportunity doesn't just drop on your lap.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking be walking around with your hands open and looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, chances aren't given, they're taken, like interceptions. Yeah, you gotta get that shit for sure. But having that, knowing the right thing to say at that right moment to the right person with that context, oh man. Oh.
And you watch their face change. You know?
Yeah, and like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. And they're like, thank you. And you're like, wow, man, thank you, you know?
Yeah.
It's really cool.
No, really, thank you. I've had moments like that on this podcast, man, where someone has said something to me and I've been like, oh. Holy shit, I get it. So what you're saying is this, and this. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly it. I'm like, holy shit, thank you. You know, because I'm just intently listening, right? And there's not many situations where you can intently listen, which is podcasting is great for that. I don't know if you're gonna get away with that win, but okay. I'll let you sneak away with that one.
Yeah.
I'll let you sneak away with that one.
You gonna throw another question down or what?
No, you know what? I think at the end of the day, it's okay. What I really want to know is why is that important to you though? Like, why is it important to you to know what to say at that right time? Why is it important to you to be that leader, to be that voice of reason? Why?
I had people like that in my life.
Right.
That really just like shifted the way my life was gonna go. You know, like I think, like I didn't know what shame was as an emotion, and I buried it so much since I was a kid that when I was, on this initiation weekend or whatever, and you go through the 5 emotions: mad, sad, glad, fear, and shame. Basic. And it's like most of us don't know how to express those emotions. I don't even know what they are. Get in touch with them.
Yeah, I couldn't name those off the top.
And it's like they were like, okay, express shame, and I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, what does shame feel like? What the fuck? And I was like, yeah, just express it. Just do a face. And I was like, and it was like, oh shit, I pull that face all the time, but I wasn't connecting the actual shame. I just buried it. Just put that motherfucker in a bottle and shut it down.
Yeah.
And it was just boom, light bulb moment, you know?
Dope.
And I cried. I fucking was like,
Course.
so I was like, ah,
Course.
fell apart. But it's like, yeah, like there was a man in that moment that knew exactly what to say. And it changed the trajectory of my life.
Damn. So you're out here just changing trajectories left, right, and center. I like it. Josh, where can people find you, man?
JoshDittmer.com and at the Josh Dittmer on Instagram, # egotistical.
Nice.
And yeah, that's pretty much the main vein. The podcast is Live More, Regret Less.
Hell yes.
And that's it, you know. I'm out and about, you know. I think if you're interested in men's work, the Samurai Brotherhood in Vancouver is just fucking next level. I'm the
Sweet.
dumbest and brokest guy in the room.
Fuck yeah.
It's fucking great.
The best. Me too. In every room. Probably the youngest too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so cool. So if you want to get out in touch with you, they can hit you up through your Instagram. Podcast is epic. Who do you have coming up on the podcast? Like, do you have any cool guys coming up or all or that?
Yeah,
Who?
Kevin.
Oh yeah,
straight up.
Kevin Wong. Shout out
Yeah,
Kevin
man.
Wong.
Shout out Kevin Wong.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I've got a friend of mine, Sam, a girl actually, who's going to come on in a couple of weeks.
Sweet.
And she's really just giving basically the female version of me. You know, she's just
Whoa.
all about chicks and like
Okay.
really bringing that back
All
together
right.
and really, yeah, beautiful woman, really cool chick. So
Okay.
I'm excited about that because we
Careful
vibe really
now.
well. No, she's white, man. So I don't dig that. If they're brown, I'm down.
And listeners know, so I'm just going to leave it at that right there and say thank you for coming on, my brother. I appreciate you. People can reach out, go check out that podcast, go back, and the thing about podcasts is they live forever. Go back and check out some of the ones he's already done.
The one with Joss was sick.
That was dope
was
too.
fun times.
Context is epic on that one as well. Love the other one. Love the one you did with, I forget her name and I apologize. She's a sex...
Juliet Allen.
Juliet Allen?
Juliet Allen.
Juliet
yeah.
Allen? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, one of my best friends ended up dating her as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
I was like, oh shit.
Bro, we're going to talk about that
I was
off
like,
camera.
look out, Nick.
Oh shit. Anyways, go check Josh out. Josh, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, man. Until next time.
Thanks.
Bam. Dope. Appreciate you.